Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're jumping right into a case that I think a lot of you will remember, one of the most compelling and frankly frustrating cold cases of the last few years.
The Suzanne Morphew Disappearance.
Exactly. The disappearance of Suzanne Morphew. This case was, for all intents and purposes, it was over. I mean, the charges had been dropped. The window seemed completely closed.
It did.
But thanks to, well, a stunning combination of luck and some really advanced forensics, the case against her husband, Barry Morphew, has been dramatically resurrected. It's led to a second indictment in 2025.
It's really a textbook example of how a case can pivot, entirely on a single piece of forensic evidence. Suzanne vanished on Mother's Day, way back in May 2020 in Colorado.
Right.
And that initial investigation against Barry, it was complex and ultimately it failed. The initial charges were dismissed in April 2021.
And not just dismissed. It was literally 2 weeks before the trial was supposed to start.
Just 2 weeks. But that dismissal, that's the crucial legal footnote here, isn't it?
It is. The prosecution, they had a lot of pressure on them, but they didn't completely concede defeat.
No, they absolutely did not. The prosecutors filed that dismissal motion without prejudice.
Explain what that means for people who might not know the legal side of this.
Well, that phrase is critical. It means the court recognized that the state might need more time or more evidence, and they explicitly reserved the right to refile charges later if that evidence materialized.
So they basically just hit the pause button.
Exactly. They put the investigation on pause rather than ending it forever. And for years, it looked like that pause was turning into, permanent silence.
Until the fall of 2023. That was the moment that flipped the entire equation. Suzanne's remains were finally discovered.
And not just discovered, but a full 50 miles away from where she disappeared in Salida.
That discovery was the game changer. It allowed the medical examiner to step in, and the specific forensic finding they made, well, that's what we're focusing on today.
It's what led the grand jury to re-indict Barry Morphew on June 18, 2025, on charges including first-degree murder.
So our mission today is to really understand how one specific, extremely rare animal tranquilizer became the foundation for this entire renewed case.
Let's do it.
So let's start with that crucial breakthrough. It is hard to overstate how long this case had been cold. Suzanne goes missing May 2020. The first charges against Barry are dropped in 2021.
And the Morphew name largely fades from the national spotlight. I mean, the sources make it clear the investigation was still churning quietly in the background, but really, that breakthrough in September 2023 felt like a piece of accidental good fortune.
It really was pure luck meeting some very meticulous police work.
Because her remains weren't found by a dedicated search team looking for her, they were found by investigators who were working on a completely separate missing person case.
In a totally different area, the fact that they were located 50 miles away in the neighboring county of Sawash, I mean, that suggests a pretty calculated attempt at concealment, far from the original scene.
Absolutely. And once the remains were positively identified, the clock started ticking on the medical examination.
Okay, let's unpack this. What exactly did the El Paso County medical examiner find in the autopsy that shifted this entire narrative? How do you go from a missing person case, or maybe a circumstantial homicide, back into a hard evidence murder indictment?
Well, this is where we move into the core of the forensic evidence, the toxicology.
Right.
The official cause of death determination that was delivered to the grand jury was startlingly specific. Suzanne's death was ruled a homicide by unspecified means in the setting of butorphanol, azaparone, and midatomidine intoxication.
Butorphanol, azaparone, and midatomidine. That sounds less like a simple drug and more like a chemical formula. What are we actually dealing with here?
You're exactly right to call it a chemical formula because these three substances, when they're combined, are known by the acronym BAM. B-A-M.
Yeah.
And it is a Schedule II controlled substance cocktail. I mean, this is not Benadryl. This is a powerful, very fast-acting animal sedative or tranquilizer.
And who uses this?
It's used almost exclusively in veterinary medicine, particularly for the chemical immobilization of large, often dangerous wildlife. Think deer, elk, or bears.
So that context is vital. This is not something you can just pick up at a regular pharmacy or even a typical vet's office, right? Not unless you specialize in wildlife management or large animal care.
Absolutely not. It requires specific licensing, specific controls. And that level of control over BAM, well, it proved to be the Achilles heel for the accused.
But what's so fascinating here is what the indictment reveals about the investigative process itself.
Yes. Law enforcement had specifically requested the medical examiner test for the presence of butorphanol, azaparone, and metomidine.
So they didn't just ask for a general drug screen.
No. They didn't just stumble upon BAM.
Yeah.
They targeted it.
That is the ultimate investigative clue right there. It suggests investigators had some kind of contextual evidence from way back in that initial 2020 search, or maybe from interviews, that strongly indicated the use of this specific controlled substance.
It has to. They knew enough to tell the medical examiner exactly what to look for. Even years later, it connects those initial, circumstantial pieces of information directly to the hard science that came out in 2023.
It's incredible. If they hadn't known to ask for that specific screen, this crucial evidence might have just, been missed entirely?
It's very possible it would have never been found because
Right.
those drugs are just so specialized.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Because the toxicology, it links directly back to the accused in a way that seems incredibly difficult to refute. We're in the linking phase now.
Right.
The evidence that was provided to the grand jury didn't just find the drug in the victim. It found a physical trace of the delivery mechanism right in the defendant's home.
Yes, and the physical evidence it's jarring in its domestic setting.
Mhm.
The indictment alleges that investigators found one of the BAM needle caps in the dryer.
In the dryer, after Barry supposedly dried the shorts he was wearing on the day Suzanne disappeared.
I mean, think about the implication of that specific location. It suggests immediate panic, maybe urgency, an attempt to destroy or hide a piece of highly specialized medical waste in a very common, highly used household appliance.
It directly connects the specialized drug, the active administration, and the cover-up to the suspect's immediate actions within his own home. It's not just circumstantial anymore.
No, it's residue of the act itself allegedly being destroyed. And if that's not enough, the indictment also addresses Barry's alleged admission of using BAM in the past.
Let's talk about that.
Okay, so the admissions establish two critical things for the prosecution: familiarity and availability.
So he knew the drug.
Right. Barry allegedly told authorities he had used BAM previously on a deer farm he owned in Indiana. So that establishes long-term familiarity with the substance, with its potency.
But the key admission was closer to home.
Much closer.
Yeah.
He allegedly admitted to using BAM in Colorado just 1 month before Suzanne's disappearance, while sedating a deer in their yard.
So let me get this straight. He has the motive, the means, the opportunity, and he has a paper trail, essentially, proving he knows how to use this very specific drug right outside their home weeks before she disappeared.
Exactly. But the final nail in this particular legal coffin is the sheer scarcity of BAM in that region. This is the legal sledgehammer.
What do you mean by that?
Well, investigators realized that if this drug is so specialized, they could try to isolate the source.
They could track the supply chain.
We could.
Oh.
So law enforcement undertook this massive review of state records covering 2017 to 2020. That's across all surrounding counties, 3 years' worth of records for a controlled substance.
And what did that extensive search reveal?
The result was legally definitive. No other private citizens or private businesses in any of those surrounding counties had purchased BAM prescriptions during that entire 3-year time frame.
Nobody.
Nobody. That means they didn't just find a controlled substance. They found a controlled substance that was, for all intents and purposes, a signature drug that only the accused had access to among the local population.
Wow. So it completely eliminates the defense argument that someone else, or, a local business, could have been the source.
It isolates the defendant almost perfectly. The only other entities legally purchasing BAM in the region were large governmental bodies.
Like Parks and Wildlife.
Exactly. Colorado Parks and Wildlife and the National Park Service. And both of them maintain strict, careful usage logs because the drug is so controlled.
So you have the toxicology, the physical evidence of the needle cap in the dryer, the admission of recent use, and this stunning record of local exclusivity.
The combination makes the case exponentially stronger than the initial 2021 indictment. This is why the grand jury moved forward.
And this powerful forensic profile, it led to the second indictment. Barry was arrested and extradited from Arizona to Colorado following that June 2025 grand jury decision. So let's talk about the current legal status, because there were some key differences from his first arrest.
There are. He has made his first courtroom appearance following this recharge. And notably, he did not enter a plea this time.
Which is different from before.
Very different. Previously, he immediately entered a not guilty plea, waiting to enter a plea. It suggests the defense really needs time to digest the sheer volume and the specificity of this new forensic discovery.
Especially the toxicology reports. They have to figure out how to even begin to counter that.
They do. And the sources also highlighted the complexity of him securing legal representation this time around.
Right. What's going on there?
Well, he is currently without counsel. His initial request for a public defender was denied because of a reported conflict of interest. The specifics of that haven't been fully detailed.
I mean, navigating the legal landscape in a complex, high-profile case like this, especially one involving specialized forensic science, it requires specific expertise. The difficulty in securing representation quickly just underscores how resource-intensive fighting this new evidence is going to be.
It does.
We also observed that detail from the courtroom about the family. One of the couple's two daughters was present to support her father, while the other was not in attendance.
It's a sad reminder, that while we focus on the chemical facts, this remains a tragedy that's directly impacting a family.
That tension will undoubtedly remain part of the public narrative, even as the legal fight zeroes in on the technicality of the BAM evidence.
Absolutely.
Okay, if we connect this to the bigger picture, what stands out most about this deep dive for you, especially for listeners following the evolution of forensic science?
For me, the key takeaway is realizing that sometimes the most sophisticated breakthroughs in solving these old, cold cases, they don't come from massive advancements in general DNA technology. They come from highly targeted forensic toxicology.
The identification of a very specialized chemical signature.
A specialized, rare, and this is the key, traceable chemical signature. The scarcity of BAM transformed this from a circumstantial missing persons case into a fully rechargeable homicide case with extremely pointed evidence.
So what does this all mean? It means the years between the dismissal of the first charges and the second indictment, they weren't wasted. That investigative persistence eventually paired with a crucial discovery 50 miles away, and then leveraged a specific chemical analysis to point directly to a controlled substance that was locally only available to one private individual.
The supply chain of a drug became the trail for a murder case.
It's a stunning example. So, given them a powerful specificity of the BAM evidence, I mean, you've got the chemical profile, the scarcity, the needle cap in the dryer, and the admission of recent use, the defense can't just rely on creating doubt about the disappearance itself anymore. Their strategy has to pivot to contesting the science.
They have no other choice.
So here's something for you to think about. What unique challenges does a rare drug profile present for a defense strategy when the drug itself is the mechanism of the alleged crime? Do they argue the toxicology test was flawed? Or maybe that the drug was administered by someone else who somehow gained access to it? That's the puzzle defense attorneys will be mulling over as this new chapter of the case unfolds.